Community Action News with Rick Godley, CAN. Remember, when you can't, maybe together we can. Community Action News, CAN.
Rick Talk.
Mr. Barnett, you're going to be next in this one. Now, I understand the way this question is worded and that you're already currently in the job, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it as it's stated just for, because I'm simple-minded. What are your top 3 priorities in your first 90 days, and how will you begin implementing them?
I spent the first 6 months, but in the beginning, the top priority was there's a big problem with retention. And with retention, it's a competitive market, and within 20 miles, agencies are offering $10,000, $6,000, $9,000 bonuses for post-certified deputies. So my first opportunity was to look at the pay scale. There were some disparities throughout. So I took salaries that we lost that were already being as part of the payroll for the year and implemented them and put them in the deputies' pockets. Not every deputy got a raise, but those who needed a raise based off tenure, time in service, merit, just overall disparities got paid. And I think Israel said it earlier, if you want to keep good people, you got to pay good people. And that's what we got to do. We immediately began weeding through the books, so to speak, allocations, vendors, all these things. And like I previously stated, within the first 5.5 months, we've cleaned up $73,000 of inefficient expenditures, in my opinion. Things that we can do better ourselves rather than pay somebody else to do. We've done that. We've established a solid command and control structure, staff. I've heard several times, well, why do you choose a chief deputy, or why do you choose a chief investigator? Well, I'll tell you pretty easy why. Crime doesn't stop. Public service doesn't stop. I don't believe in letting the public suffer because I can't handle my business as a leader. Good leadership comes from effective subordinate leaders. And you got to have them. And not to mention statutorily, it wouldn't be fair to the public if I didn't have a chief criminal deputy, because none of us are promised tomorrow. And by law, you deserve a leader in a moment's notice. So that's what we've done. We're continuing to move forward. We're redoing some programs, expanding some programs, and resource allocation is a hot topic. Thank you.
All right, on this question, I would actually like a response from every candidate on this one of your first 90 days priorities and how you begin implementing them. If Mr. Jason Robinson, if you would.
Well, not knowing currently the physical budget of the sheriff's office, or it's up for renewal, not knowing if this millage is going to pass, there's a lot of things that you're definitely going to have to look at within your first 90 days. You're going to have to look at to know where your money is going out to, where your money is coming from, and how long it's going to last and how long it's going to spread out. Yes, I agree with Brent. The deputies definitely needed a raise. Hey, I was there. I remember when I started out at $1,200 a month. I don't think any of us could survive on that now. So I know that he has done a good thing by getting those deputies the money. If I would have been in his position where I was appointed during that first 90 days, I may have done a little bit different just coming from the background that I come from. Not knowing if this millage is going to pass or not pass, any extra resources that I would have had, I think I would have maybe held them until knowing if this millage passed or not, and then divvy those out as needed, because the deputies definitely needed the raise, and I give him kudos to giving that to them. But I would have rather had that money in reserve just in case it did not pass. we would have had those extra resources to survive a little bit longer until we get everything lined out within that first 90-day period on this budget.
Thank you. Mr. Cheatwood, same question.
Fiscal year ends June 30th of this year. So the first priority would be, whether the millage passes or not, is to make sure that budget's balanced at the end of the year. Law requires that. There would be, if the millage doesn't pass, it'd be a lot of hard cuts. Cuts that none of us up here at this table want to have to make. But I think that's probably the first and most priority would be to establishing the budget that's going to be balanced at the end of the fiscal year. The millage expired December 31st, 2025. They collected taxes for the year 2025, so every entity got a check January 1st for the year. At the end of this year, the millage doesn't pass, that's gone. But we've got to look at balancing the budget first and foremost. My second priority would be taking a look at over expenditures, for lack of a better term, the fat that needs to be trimmed, the unnecessary stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on what the unnecessary stuff is, but there's some unnecessary stuff, and that needs to be trimmed out to become more efficient in operation of the department.
Thank you. Mr. McGee, same question.
First 90 days, first and foremost, for the future of the parish, you got to balance that budget. I agree with what Mr. Cody's saying, 100%. You have just a short time to get that budget together. Whoever's elected, got to be in, would you say June 30th? Got to be in by that date. Whoever's got a hard job to do that. But how you leave something can greatly affect moving forward. I do believe that a second priority would be analyzing all processes, and that involves at the jail, it involves where we lease vehicles, it involves every aspect, where we get our insurance, who we get our insurance through. But it's one thing to say you might change it and go look for the change. It's another thing to find it and actually change it. I believe that it's going to take some tough decisions. The millage don't pass, it's going to be some tough cuts. Hey, like you said, nobody's going to want to make those. But if the millage does pass, we still got to prove to the people that we're using their money wisely. I think if we could prove to the people we're using their money wisely now, I would see the millage passing no problem. But it's kind of hard to ask when we're steadily spending. You know, I'm going to go back to another topic there somebody else said about the pay increases for them, the salary increases for the employees. I'm sure they were deserving. I'm not against that. People need their money, they need good jobs, and they're good people working at the Jackson Parish Sheriff's Office. It's full of them. But the long-term stability of that sheriff office is hinged on that budget. It's hinged on it. And if we're looking at just 6 months down the road, we can make some changes. We can give some raises. We're looking at a year down the road, year and a half. But if we're looking at 5 years out, 8 years out, 10 years out, we can't keep dipping out of the pot and not putting the same amount back in or more. Or one day it's going to come up dry.
Hold up.
Let's let Mr. Israel have his chance to answer, and then we can have responses. Sorry. All right, Mr. Israel, go ahead with
Budget is important, but I'm not scared of that. We've been working with a tight budget as long as I've been a police officer. So I'm not scared of a tight budget. It's one of those things, it's management. But walking around this parish and talking to people, another pressing issue is the people are asking, what are y'all doing? People are saying, we don't see you all. Or I don't see people here, I don't see people there. If we correct that, then we won't have to worry about being in this situation with this budget again, because people don't mind paying for what they need. People don't mind investing. where they know they're gonna get a return.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett, you said you wanted to respond. If you don't mind, try to keep it under 30 seconds so we can move on.
I will. Look, the elephant in the room with everybody is the budget, okay? I've been on the budget since day one. I've got a wonderful staff that keeps me in line on that budget. And I will tell you today that budgets are projections. What you really need to look at is the current financial statement, because the current financial statement shows a $1.2 million surplus June the 30th. So it's balanced.
Thank you. All right, Mr. McGee, do you want to respond as well?
Where can we find that financial statement? So it's not on a page just easy to find for the citizens to look at. You got to go through. You know, things like this $800,000 we pulled out of the hat. That's the transparency I think the people would like to know. I think if he'd have said, hey, look, we found $800,000. We're working hard to balance this budget and fight the deficit. Boy, that'd be a good way to get that millage passed. People saying, hey, he's doing right by the budget. But, you know, we ain't heard that till tonight.
All right, thank you. We're going to have to move on. If you have further response, then I request that you do so in your closing remarks. We're going to move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Good night.